No, Malia, go. No. What? Okay, Malia, you gotta get out of here.
Okay, we're on live now.
Okay.
You got it pulled up? Okay, cool.
Gotcha, I see it. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Good afternoon, and welcome to the third segment of Black Is, a DreamWeekSA 2021 panel discussion centered on the Black experience in America. Tonight's discussion will be hosted by B-Raw Podcast, and I am one of your B-Raw hosts, Shamika Whitson.
And I'm another one of your B-Raw hosts, Shalonda Mack. B-Raw Podcast. B-Raw is a podcast featuring Black real A women sharing raw conversations on real topics affecting our communities. Although this podcast is hosted by women, we are not exclusive to women because
we love our Black men too. So the purpose of the Black Is panel discussion is to provide an opportunity for a variety of Black voices in the community to have a dialogue, and with the aim of defining the idea of Blackness and providing broad commentary on its different associations in our culture.
Today is going to be an exciting episode as we have a few ambitious youth and young adult panelists joining us along with a special guest on the show. So let's introduce our amazing panel, shall we?
I think we shall.
So first up is Mahogany Jones. Mahogany is 13 years old. She is an 8th grader at Dobby High School, and she is a military child. Ooh, girl, me too. So she's enjoyed living in different places like Georgia, Washington, D.C., California, and now Texas. She enjoys cooking, painting, listening to music, and going outside. She is passionate about keeping good grades, doing well in school, and trying to keep a positive mindset and staying active. Mahogany, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, Mahogany.
Now, pronounced Dobby.
Yes, exactly. Now, next we have Cammie Crawford. Cammie is 17 years old. She's a junior at Randolph High School. She was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. She enjoys baking and playing volleyball. She's an advocate for sickle cell awareness, an aspiring fashion model, and plans to pursue a career in the medical field. Cammie, how you doing, ma'am?
Hey, Cammie girl.
I'm good. Super excited.
Yes, we're happy to have you.
Yes. All right. And next up is Clarence Springs. He is 20 years old. He's a junior at St. Philip's College. He has a passion for working with youth and inspiring others to become successful in life and be a positive reinforcement. His mission is to provide positivity across the world and help others accomplish all their goals. Clarence, welcome to the show. What is your major? What are you majoring in?
My major is business entrepreneurship.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, thank you for being here today.
That's a huge need in the Black community, so I'm proud of you on that one. Welcome. And now, thank you all so very much for being here. Now we must also honor our special guest joining our panel tonight. He is a former City of San Antonio District 2 councilman and local civil rights leader from the 1970s, Mr. John Sanders. Mr. Sanders, do you mind introducing yourself with a brief bio?
No, as you said, in the 70s, it actually started. I was 17, 1969. Of activist career that spans, now that I counted up the years, I'm glad y'all gave me notice of some maybe 52 years, 30 years in employment, retired from the Texas Workforce Commission, 42 years in ministry, and 8 years as an elected official.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for all that you've done for our community. And thank you so much for being here with us today. So our panel discussion will highlight the past, present, and future of today's Black America. We don't know where we're going unless we know where we've been. And with that said, Mr. Sanders, based on your experience, do you mind sharing your opinion on where we have been? Basically, if you can just share some of your activism journey, the accomplishments that you and your organization made for the community and specifically for San Antonio, Texas.
I'll emphasize the organization would be Organizations United for Eastside Development, which I was the privilege to be their president for some 9 years. This was the largest multi-coalition 10 organizations, over 350 members, over a 12-year period of time that dealt with everything from police brutality, housing discrimination, employment discrimination, all areas of the quality of our lives and those things that were impacting our lives. But my career started at 17 at San Antonio College when the school denied the championship intramural basketball team that happened to all look like me the opportunity to represent the school in a citywide tournament, thinking that we should put a little cream in our coffee to represent the school. Well, of course, we said if we had not won, you would not ask any other team to include any of us to represent the school. So that began my boycott career, and I understood that I had a spirit of righteous indignation. And from there, as youth, we established all the Black student unions in San Antonio through the 70s. As a group of young people, San Antonio became the second city in the United States, of course, the first city in Texas, to pass a resolution against the Cougaran coin, which was the South African gold piece that we were buying as a people and wearing around our neck. You know how we like to wear our prosperity, and we were wearing gold around our neck, ignorant to the fact that we were paying for the apartheid system in South Africa that was oppressing our people. So the education that we acquired, that we were connected as a people, and that we began to address that particular issue and got addressed city council, the students from Our Lady Lake University, St. Philip's, Trinity University, Beverly Watts Davis, who received this year's Humanitarian MLK Award, Courage Award, the Courage Award, the R.K. Callis Courage Award, was a part of that particular movement, and the rest of us, and got that particular pass. And when you get, victories and things happen, and you understand your power and the power of organizing and strategizing and mobilizing, then you grow into the pattern, and that's what we did. We had members who were coming out of SNCC. We had members who were coming out of other organizations, and it was just a generation of us who had the initial spirit to move forward. And so that's what we did, and we established this large coalition that got involved, as I sent some items earlier, in monies that come to our community, how they're dispersed, the issues of, like I said, police brutality, beginning with the Webb Boys shooting in the 1970s, 1979 in Shoppers World, a young man who was shot twice in the parking lot. He was accused of shoplifting. He shot by the police guard in his car. Because of our activism, going to trial, sitting in on the trial, advocating with the prosecutor, getting the community involved, we received the first prosecution success conviction of law enforcement officers in 40 years in San Antonio killing a minority. You go from there, other accomplishments would be the last time we had an economic boycott in this city. It was also 1979, Jam Production. This was a promoter that was not promoting our community. I understand somebody that's interested in economic development, business management, was not promoting our community in the business side of selling tickets for concerts, R&B concerts mainly. Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Peaches and Herb. I'm naming them because they would not break the picket line once we established the boycott. From that, the National Black Music Association flew us into New Orleans. I remember the date, December 7, 1979. We stayed at the Grand Hyatt Hotel next to the Superdome. We met with the leaders, Dick Griffey, Stevie Wonder, and all of them. We have pictures of all that event about why we were boycotting their music, of their concerts in San Antonio. When we explained the business end of it, at the end of that day, we had a successful signing of an agreement with that promoter. You had our young people now able not only to usher and see a free concert, you had a limousine service that came out of that. You had a catering service that came out of that. Black catering services, let me not just take that for granted. Black catering service, black limousine service that grew out of that. Black businesses now selling tickets, because this promoter did not sell tickets in our businesses, but we were making up 90-some% of the audience. That was a success for us. So that, and then we were successful on the national level, members of National People's Action. We would go to Washington, D.C. twice a year after going to the winter meeting in Chicago, planning the agenda, which was known back then in the springtime as the Hellraisers Convention. Over 2,800 people from all across the country, all the community activist groups that came to Washington, D.C. We would identify who our enemies were, who the target was, whether it was Freddie Mae or Fannie Mac, housing. This is back in the 70s and 80s. And then we would load up on buses on Monday morning, and we would go to Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac, and 500-700 people would be in the hallways calling for the chairman. We would have a negotiating team. So when the Capitol Police or the Metropolitan Police, whichever police showed up, we would applaud them. We would make way for them to come to the front of the line. We would use them to negotiate with the people inside, to let a number of us to come in to negotiate our issues. And then we would further push those issues. We did this every year. San Antonio was one of the leading delegations every year, and that's how a number of us, I can start calling names, got prominence on the national level of learning how to make things happen. Saturdays and Sundays, after the Friday night opening, we would know where we were going to make hits. If there were certain people like Phil Graham, who headed the concurrency up at that time, we would load up on buses. We knew where they lived. We would go up on Sunday evenings and we would just block off the whole neighborhood. We flood it. We pass out flyers to all the neighbors. We knock on his door at 6 o'clock in the evening. He'd have 500 to 1,000 people in his front yard, and we give him the Bozo Award. And we do things like that. We go to the pharmaceuticals on Monday because we knew when their meetings were. And we go up the elevators to their national meetings, their board meetings, and we'd flood their offices, and we'd get a meeting. We'd have a negotiating team that would fight our issues. Once they agreed to meet, we get back on the bus, go to the next hit. That's how we took those, and we would take the issues of our community, whether it was housing, whether it was affordable housing, whether it was the currency, money, federal wages, minimum wage, whatever it was. That was the issue. Pharmaceutical prices, whatever was affecting us. And we had groups from Seattle, Washington to New York City.
That is amazing. I don't know if we were prepared for the level of impact, the magnitude of that you all were able to accomplish. I would want to say one of my immediate questions was like, how with opposition? You say this started, well, I know you said that for you, the initiative came from you back in '69 when you were in school, when you were like, no, something needs to change. But obviously it carried on throughout the years. But my question is, with the opposition that existed at that time in the late 60s, early 70s, as far as for Black Americans, like, how were you guys actually able to accomplish organizing a group, getting funding to actually be able to move around, to actually advocate the issues that were going on here in San Antonio?
We were the children of the civil rights movement. Out of the civil rights movement came, when we talk about the national organizations that you know, like the NAACP and SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which Martin Luther King, Ralph Abernathy, C.T. Vivian, and all of them headed. And then that's early 60s. Then you get the passing of civil rights legislation in 64 and 65, the Voting Rights Act, Fair Housing Act, all of those kinds of things. And then we come along and we understand how organization and mobilization. We saw our elders marching. We saw what nonviolent marching did. We saw how Malcolm approached it, the good cop, the bad cop approach. And then we understood what organization meant. You identify the target, you have your group, you identify the talents in your group, and you establish what your priorities are. Are we going to deal with police brutality? Yes, we are. Are we going to deal with this issue or that issue? Because everybody at that time is not equipped to put themselves on the front line. That's why when we metamorphosed 12 years later, we turned into Frontline 2000, elected a whole new group of leadership, and that's how you got the MLK holiday in the state of Texas. Because you got to know when it's time to strike. The Vietnam War was going on. We were the children of SNCC, all the uprising on college campuses, the resistance to the war. Martin Luther King had been assassinated. Robert Kennedy had been assassinated. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, when we were putting off those shackles of the profiles of Black people, because words matter. When you grow up hearing that black is bad and white is right, when you grow up hearing about devil's food and angel's food cake, devil's food cake is always chocolate, angel food cake is white. When you always look at cowboy movies and the black and the bad man is always wearing the black hat and the good man is always wearing the white hat. When you hear on TV, when you're talking to put somebody down or dehumanize them, you say you're going to do what? We're going to blackmail you. Why aren't we saying we're going to whitemail you? And so these images that we're taught, so that say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, and we change from being Negroes to accepting that we're black. That doesn't just mean a shade of skin color. It means an attitude and a purpose and an understanding that we are connected to who we are internationally as a people. That we're just not confined to just being Americans. We understand our history, how we got here, how we saved this, well, you all saved this country, how we built this country, and what our contributions have been to this country, instead of how someone else has told us how we are and who we are and how we're supposed to be. So all of that was changing. You saw people wearing dashikis and beads and hats. All of this was changing. What we were wearing on the outside was saying that things had changed on the inside. And we're not ashamed of who we are. We weren't ashamed of wearing our hair, how we wore it. We had afros, we had puffs, we had whatever. And then the backlash of, for you women, of your hair is inappropriate in the military and all that backlash you had to deal with, going to court. And we understood, like Thurgood Marshall taught us, that we win by public policy. We win, we have to change public policy. That's the best thing we have on our side. So we learned how to do that. We learned how to go after our own money, brought in over $60 million. We built facilities like the Barbara Jordan Center, parks, DeFoss Park, Lockwood, Second Baptist Park, Belcrest Park. We put parks in communities. We built community centers. We did the things community need, put sidewalks where kids were walking through the street in the rain, those kind of things that the community need. And when the community sees you doing and addressing their issues, they join you. People join things that are working. So you need structure and you need organization to move government, whether it's on city level, county level, state level, to move it along. You identify your talents, who you have, what your interests are, and you are accountable to each other. You give each other titles. Those titles make you accountable. If you're the vice president, you're accountable. If you're the chairman of investigation and research and the first, you're accountable. So if you all have a meeting and you say, we're going to do this by next month, next meeting, then the people talked about it, well, then who's accountable? Who's going to make sure it gets done? Who's going to call whoever who knows that's what their interest is, and we're going to work on this, and we need help. We know who to call, and we get it done. That's what we did. And we just did that in our generation. It was an amazing thing. That's why we were able to accomplish what we did. We had no sacred cows, none of that. We didn't play games with people. If you were not working for our community, we could show up, 300 people on the bus, come to the city council meeting, flood the whole council, knew how to sign up, knew how to address the issue, knew how to lobby our council people, knew how to tell them, we got 2,000 people out here, we can move the vote if you can't support our issues. That's how it works.
That's a lot. So what would you say were two of your biggest challenges that you were faced with, and how do you think you and your team overcame them?
Being in position to be able to address the issues, because when you are young, you're first achieving, trying to get your careers, trying to get your ability to have that desired quality of life. And so there are some positions that you can be in that it would be a challenge to do some of the things we were doing. So for many of us, I was blessed at that time to work for the state. So as long as I was not involved in partisan politics, Democrat or Republican politics, and if I had to be at City Hall or call a press conference at 2:00 on a Wednesday or Thursday, I was on leave. I wasn't shucking and jiving and just running around to the side, and I'm still on state time, and I'm just trying to do this on no. I was on leave. My leave papers were in the hopper. I played it straight. So nobody, because we had a lot of retired military at that time, and you know what I mean, who did not like my particular politics, but that didn't matter. There was nothing they could do about it because the Lord saved me. He put me in a position where I have 30 years of uninterrupted money so I could raise all the hell I needed to raise. So that's your first challenge when you're young, and I understand that. And you have your parents and your sisters and brothers when they see you on TV addressing a certain issue, asking you why you, and why you doing that. You're only going, you know, and people challenge you in that way. You can't be scared to be an activist. You can't be scared, and you have to be knowledgeable. You have to be bold, and you have to be fearless. That's just a simple fact that it's not for everybody. Some people can come join you at the town hall meeting. Some people can vote. Some people can do this, but it takes a certain person to have the passion to go through all that it takes to be in the movement. That's a whole different ballgame.
That's huge. I want to open up the floor to Candy, Clarence, or Mahogany. Do you all have a specific question that you would like to ask Mr. Sanders?
So I heard you said that you have to be fearless and it takes a certain type of person to do it. But were you ever scared of possible repercussions of your actions and things that you did?
Well, of course, I mean, we received telephone calls about threats to our lives when we addressed the Klan, and when we addressed a certain group on the north side of San Antonio called CASA that was trying to deny public housing north of Hildebrand, if anyone knows what San Antonio is. And so we were addressing that issue with city council and whatever to inform and educate them that they already had public housing north of Hildebrand. And this was just another racist, discriminatory practice, and we identified where the housing was and who was living there. So knowledge of the issue, your willingness to get knowledgeable and educate even those in power who are trying to put a spin on it to get a certain result. You have to confront that. And when you do that, people kind of sometimes research you and they find weaknesses where they sometimes attack you. You have to have a tough skin. You have to not let whatever just people are saying that your shoes are too long, your hair is too big. Don't let that deter you. Stay focused on the issue and be successful. And in your success, after a while, when people know you're serious, they'll leave all that alone. But at first, you'll get all of that, you know, you turn to the left instead of turning to the right. They'll come any little thing to get you off your focus of dealing with the facts of the issue.
That's huge. Thanks, Mahogany. Clarence?
First and foremost, Mr. Sanders, I would like to say thank you for your services that you have done for the Black community. Everything that you have done, it truly means a lot. Your story is very, very powerful for me, especially at a young age. All that you went through, it's really amazing in history also. And I just want to, personally say thank you for what you have done. I do have a question. Throughout all your accomplishments and all the chaos that you went through, did you ever fear for your life as far as, doing the right thing, it being in the position that you are in now?
No, that's a very good question. Right after the San Antonio College issue and we were dealing with the Cougaran issue, I made a decision because, see, I grew up, I'm the son of a Baptist preacher. So I grew up in church. I knew the Lord. So what I did was I asked the Lord, it was about the quality of my life. When I graduated from high school, my high school term paper was Frederick Douglass. The book that I read twice, that was my history term paper. My English term paper, I had just finished reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. So when I got to college at 17, I didn't know it, but the keg was already there. So when I ran into institutional, administrative racism on that level, I was already prepared for it. And the fellows with me on the team that we were on at San Antonio College at that time, we were all together, that we would not go if we didn't go as our team. So they couldn't pick off the leadership of 2 or 3 people to break our chain, and we were willing not to go. So you got to be willing for the circumstances, because activism is a sacrifice. Over the time, they may have been accomplishment, but you pay a price in time. You pay a price, and you pay a price with objections. When we got the Barbara Jordan Center built, it took 7 years. One of the greatest adversaries we had were our own people who didn't support the project. But the greatest joy we had was once the project was built, the people who were fighting the project were one of the first ones who were trying to book meetings in the building. And we used to run into them all the time. It gave us great joy because people didn't understand what we were doing till they saw it. Sometime when you're in it, the people that you're even trying to work for and support, and you're doing it for because you're doing it for the greater good, they may not be where you are. And you just got to live with it. They may hate on it. They may not understand it and have cynicism for. You just have to keep going. And once you get it done, all those haters and all those people, the naysayers, they'll be the first ones telling you how good it is, how much they enjoy it. That was good what y'all did. And you can just remember when they were some of the ones telling you we don't need this, y'all don't need to do this, but they're the first ones in there used it. And you just stand back and enjoy it because you knew why you were doing it. You knew what it was going to serve. All you had to do was fight through all the whatever to get it done. And those are some of the accomplishments. When I drive by certain things, landmarks that I can remember what the fight was or what we had to go through to get it done, and I can see how it serves the community, I'm good. I'm good.
I appreciate
But yes, I have. But I decided, I asked the Lord to give me quality of life. I wasn't trying to be Martin Luther King, but I understood I wanted my life to be meaningful. I wanted my contribution. It wasn't about me. My ego's not that big. I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted to make a contribution, especially after reading, especially Douglas's letter about the 4th of July and slaves relationship to the 4th of July. I read that at 17. So when I ran into Stokely and H. Rap Brown and all those brothers and sisters, when I read about Ruby Sales, Fannie Lou Hamer, Annie Pearl Avery, all of those women down in Mississippi who got on those buses and organized those sharecroppers and risked their lives, what I was doing was going to a buffet. Okay? They're down in Alabama. When I heard about Goodman and Shren and them getting killed, these are college students that came from the North who went down to the South to register my people. These are Jews and white folks. So what am I talking about? And we wearing dashikis and singing songs and all that. No. Sometimes it's not for everybody. You put it on the line. And just like I see now in y'all in the Black Lives Matter movement, because I decided whenever it was time for me to pay down, meeting with you all and all that, no, it's a blessing for me because I was going to pay down. We did not get or have, in some instances, the kind of support that I'm willing to give because we were kind of radical. We were kind of too radical for the mainstream at that time. We were the NAACP on steroids. We didn't play with all the niceties. We would show up. And we would, we didn't show up. We knew what we were doing. We were organized. We knew who was going to speak on what. When we went into negotiation, we knew who was playing good cop, bad cop. When Mario and Ricky went to Austin to negotiate the MLK state holiday, the timing was right. Arizona, Gene Upshaw in the National Football League was saying they were going to deny Arizona the Super Bowl if they did not have a state holiday. We got on the phone. Well, guess what? Kathy Whitmire in Houston is also on that list advocating for a Super Bowl. So we call the NFL and say, if y'all gonna deny Arizona, you have to deny Texas. Mario and Ricky went to Austin, met with Gib Lewis, who was the Speaker of the House at that time. Karen Jones was our state representative. Frank Tejada, the late Frank Tejada, was our state senator. We knew exactly who would sponsor the bills. When they went up there, they let them give them Lewis know that we in San Antonio, I was sitting at home, that we had our hands on the phone and we were going to contact the over 300 some black radio stations across the country and let them know what Texas' decision is. When they walk out of that room, Gib Lewis got Karen Conley and Frank Tejada in that office and say, will you sponsor it? Kathy Whitmire called in from Houston and say, do whatever you can. Because whenever you affecting the green, they're gonna make a move. You understand? Whenever you affecting their money, color goes out the window. So when we were affecting Houston, the green, they made a decision. Texas had a state holiday that came out of San Antonio activists.
That's so powerful. Well, first, I want to thank you so much for sharing all of that. I feel like we got a whole, that was real life, y'all. Black history documentary happened right here on the Blackness panel discussion given to us by Mr. Sanders. And I appreciate you more than anything for saying, I think something that we all need to hear, and that is that sometimes when it comes to this fight, if you do decide to take on the shoes of being an activist or working for our people specifically in our community, specifically the people that you expect to support you don't. And you're right, a lot of them won't support until they actually see the fruits of the labor.
Yeah.
And that is okay. That doesn't mean stop.
That's okay.
Didn't get the support.
That's
If
okay.
anything, you have to work harder. So I appreciate
Exactly.
I do.
And don't hate on them when they come late, because they'll show up late and they'll try to act like later that they were with you all the time when you accomplished whatever you did. Don't hate them. Just smile about it and let it go, because that's just the way it is. Don't even count your numbers, whether it's 10 of you, 5 of you, 7 of you. You committed, don't worry, because if you're right, folks are going to join you. They just going to try to find you where you are and just welcome them in and take them from wherever they are.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. So we're going to move on into our next segment of the show. That will be us embracing the present. So our first question, I'm going to kick this off to Cammie. So let's talk about year 2020, girl. Woo. So how would you say that this year has affected your life the most in your own words? And if anything, just think about the year before and specifically what changes occurred in 2020 and how you've overcome those changes, if there was anything kind of, hard.
And if any specific events had an impact on you and why?
Definitely COVID, because me being a junior, trying to prepare for my future in college and all those things, it definitely drag on, work and my motivation, because it's like all these huge changes are happening and just there's so much going on, and it was very overwhelming. It still is, but with support of family and everything, I got through it. But I will say, like, it did test me a lot, because I'm used to pushing my limits a lot, but this pushed me very far. And like last year, before all of this started, I thought, like, it's easy, it's not going to get any worse. But then this happened and I was like, oh, okay, so this is really the year where it's going to show how much I want to, succeed in what I do and what I plan to do, or if, this is going to break me pretty much. So yeah, it was a lot.
I agree. Well, you're still here, girl, so you're doing great.
And beautiful at that.
Yes. You won. Mahogany, what about you?
Oh, well, with COVID, a lot of things have changed, and now we're mostly at home. So it's just really different, and you have to learn to adapt. And it's really just different. And you have to learn a lot of change, and staying at home, and everything with school, it's all around different.
So outside of COVID, I think we all know COVID has been probably the biggest impact that has happened for 2020, or at least one of them still making impact, right? Outside of COVID, has there been any other events or things that took place this year, or 2020, sorry, we're not in 2020 anymore, right. That took place in 2020 that really made a difference on your life?
Not really. Everything, all the stuff that I would be doing, and that probably would have been some amazing opportunities, got shut down because of COVID, so I didn't get to do those things.
Understood. Okay. Clarence?
COVID-19 has really played a big role in a lot of things for me. I've lost a lot of people due to COVID. Lost a teacher a couple of days ago due to COVID. Lost a friend of mine. I lost a cousin. So COVID has really infected my family tremendously a lot, and it's just been very hard to, to process, all those deaths. But I try my best to continue to do what I'm doing currently, which is, going to school, graduating college, and getting my certificate in business management. Um, a couple of weeks ago, I got honored to be I got sponsored by a clothing brand from Empire Apparel, which is a clothing brand that sponsors me throughout my fitness. I'm really big into fitness. I can work with youth and everything across the world, across the nation, just to inspire them and to motivate them. That's also I played a role also too, because we had a summit this year, but it had to be virtually, and it was the Pan-Media Outreach Summit. We had to have it virtually, which was very hard because it was just so hard to get more engaged with the students, because some students are good at virtual things, but me personally, I like that one-on-one, the eye contact. That's what I like, and
Yeah.
that played a big role,
Or,
and then also on campus. I go to St. Philip's. My freshman year was so amazing. I loved it. I loved everybody on campus, friends, kickback, chill, cafeteria, everything was just very, very fun. And,
yeah.
and now we have to adapt to wearing face masks, social distance. Like it's just COVID-19 has just been a new norm that's hard to process. But I'm trying to get through it as much as possible, praying that it's over pretty soon. But I'm just trying to keep my mindset, because having a positive mindset is key. Because, suicide rates have been going up, mental health, a lot of things have been going on in the world today. I've lost a tremendous amount of people. So the key thing is just trying to stay positive throughout it all and try to still accomplish my goals and stay on that positive path and continue to have that mindset and continue to do what I'm doing currently.
It's so refreshing to hear young people talk about mental health. That was not a thing when we were younger.
Yes, I agree. I think mental health in the Black community is huge. So knowing that we've had a few interviews and met a few folks, and a lot of people bring that up. And I think the fact that we're embracing that more and hopefully learning to release the negative stigma that comes with maintaining mental health, I think it's huge. It's a huge step in the right direction. So I do want to ask a question, and I'm going to ask whoever would like to answer this. Please feel free to unmute yourself. So I think, when we talk about 2020, 100% COVID, I think takes the cake as far as being the thing that we're still trying to get used to. But I want to hear, how has it been, or how had it been, braving through COVID on top of other things that took place, like the protests that occurred throughout the nation, the murders that occurred that we know people were protesting for, a lot of the injustices that took place that seemed to get a little bit more spotlight, where the Black Lives Matter movement became more in the spotlight for the open public, and we saw the protests ensue, even here in San Antonio. Yes, and not even just in the United States, but around the world, right? I would like to hear from someone to kind of share with us your feedback on what that experience has been like. Did you get a chance to participate in any protest or in any function of that matter?
Well, yes, if I may. Okay. Yes, we dinosaurs are always connected either by spirit or wherever we fit in, we get in. And if I can, my brother, you talked about St. Philip's. I'm connected with St. Philip's. That's my junior college alma mater. If you recall, some years ago, that was an attack to take the the health school and the nursing school from St. Philip's and move it. And it was the activist community, East Side, and the late Reverend E. Thurman Walker, pastor of Antioch Church, who made a declarative statement that that bond issue, we would defeat that bond issue if they attempted to move that school. And we defeated the bond issue, and that kept St. Philip's as you are enjoying it. I'm just relating that was an attempt to change St. Philip's, to take St. Philip's major emphasis away and move it to another campus. And the community stopped. Yeah. And now your question, I'm sorry, I was just as you were speaking, COVID. Oh, and COVID and dealing with Black Lives Matter and dealing with the issue.
Yeah.
The issue was they saw George Floyd get killed on live real time. Whenever it happens and they see it, those who say, question whether it's happening, question our history. When we talk about this being happening ever since slavery, we talk about Jim Crow, we talk about how the police were created. The police were created as a bounty hunting, capture, escape, slave operation. And we talk about that whole mentality and the cases down through the years. Emmett Till, all generations have had lynching, people killed in those southern states, don't even know their names, buried, lynched, men, women, whether they men who came back from the war, World War I, from Jim Crow, World War II, came back, you could not buy a home, you could not use the VA, all of those kinds of things in the past. You move that forward, same thing. Your generation has to step up and keep the fight going to maintain and to move forward this promise, this dream of America living up to what it has put on paper. Now, of course, they didn't have us in mind when they put that on paper, but so be it. We paid down a heck of a price on America.
That's right. Mahogany, I know you wanted to say something. Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
I was gonna say, I feel like that now that with COVID and everybody staying at home and they're more on their devices, watching TV more, all the different police brutality and Black Lives Matter events that have been happening this year, well, 2020, were more spotlighted and brought to people's attention because they saw more of it. And that got more people wanting to during protests, and it was just very much more spotlighted versus in previous times, it's kind of just been pushed to the side as we know it's happening, but we're not thinking about it. But in 2020, it was a long and more people recognized it.
I think that's a great observation. You're 100% right. Less distractions, so they were able to focus more on actually seeing what we've always known has been happening in our community. So I agree with you. Anybody else got a comment?
Totally agree. I totally agree. Same thing. Yeah, I think it gave people an eye opener to really understand where we're coming from at Later Big Bro. So I totally agree with all you guys. Sure.
Agreed.
And let's not forget these latest killings. The young man killed in his front yard in front of his parents. Mother saying, don't shoot him, don't shoot him. He's mentally challenged. They all knew it. The police knew it. The police officers bringing him back home. He was in the car with him. He brings him back home. He lets him out of the car. Then he tries to create this environment, and then he tases him. And then he takes a gun out and kills him in his front yard in front of his parents. I mean, I know George Floyd is the poster boy of the movement, the feeling, and the emotion, but this is still happening. This is just a month ago. This is still happening. So we have to continue to highlight the Breonna Taylors and all of them, keep bringing these names forward, and you all have to keep finding ways to do this. Even right now, the San Antonio Coalition Police Accountability and all that, they're holding a meeting. That coalition is online right now, formulating and talking about this police union president who's trying to make statements about Black Lives Matter movement. See, these are the kind of things that intimidate you folks of goodwill to not get involved because the opposition is trying to say that you're this or you're this. We will call communists, we will call socialists, we will call all kind of names. For just like Martin Luther King and war, just like anybody, anytime you're trying to do for your people, somebody's gonna try to demonize you or gonna try to call you out of your name or put a label on you or make you something that you're not. Don't worry about all that. You just keep moving forward.
Thank you. Cammie, did you have a comment that you wanted to make? I want to give you a chance to speak on this as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that was a really great point that Mahogany made, because before, like she said, before COVID, literally, that the whole Black Lives Matter crisis didn't get near as much attention or notice that it deserved or need. And I feel like that shows how much of an influence social media has, because if this hadn't have happened, it probably wouldn't have been as big as it was. And I know that's the truth, but it's also pretty sad because it had to take all of that just for people to notice. So yeah.
Great point. And as Mr. Sanders said, there are so many organizations that have formed because of it, that are about holding police accountable and essentially fighting, police brutality in our communities. And so I agree. I think we're making strides, but there's so much more work to be done. Number one, police brutality is not the only issue in the Black community.
Right.
So there's quite a bit of work to be done. So with that statement that I just made, I would actually like to hear from anyone who would kind of like to tackle that, maybe from one of our young panelists, on, in your eyes, even just being in school, right? I know 2020, you haven't been able to go to school, but prior to 2020, like what, give me some insight and feedback from yourself and in your own words, like what would you say, has there been any, injustices or discrimination that you've seen happen just in your own backyard, is what is the term that people like to use, but happen amongst your friends, amongst family, things that you're like, I think had we been a different skin color, that wouldn't have occurred, or et cetera. I just kind of want to open the floor for you guys to freely talk about that.
I want to say that just being around my friends, whenever I started to bring up this conversation, because I was like, I need to see what they think about this. And when they said it actually made them uncomfortable, it was really surprising to me, because I was like, well, this is something that's real and it's happening and it shouldn't be ignored. And if it makes you uncomfortable, then it made me kind of worry, because it's like, then what do you think of me? When I have friends who do look like me and then who don't, who have different beliefs, and then it's just like, whoa, yeah, that's just really not alarming, but it's an eye-opener of just what people who you're close to think, not necessarily behind your back, but but yeah.
No, I think that's huge. You're right. I've seen so many people, like grown-ups, that are experiencing the exact same thing, where when all this stuff transpired, like you said, social media it can be a killer. It can be a huge testament for eye-opening, where a lot of people aren't friends anymore. A lot of people found out how, oh, this is what you really may think about me behind closed doors, etc. So you are 100% right.
And Trump didn't make it any better.
Mahogany?
When I was younger, the kids were a lot more open and free. They didn't really care about what they said as much. And I remember I was just trying to play checkers. Like, I really wanted to play checkers. So I went up and I asked this kid, hey, do you want to play checkers with me? And he said, I'm not going to play checkers with you because you're Black.
Oh, wow. Well, that is unfortunate for him, because he probably could have won. Or learned something from you had you been on his team, because you are a very bright young lady. So that's super unfortunate. And unfortunately, a lot of us will have those experiences where, in your close circle, me and Shalonda have talked about it actually on our podcast, where the first time that we knew we were Black, quote unquote, meaning we felt we were treated differently because we were Black, right? And so I think that, I will say this. We are a very resilient people, right? We are all on this call, we are survivors. Our ancestors all went through a lot for us to even be here, for us to be alive on a live stream, using all this technology to still be fighting the fight that we're fighting today. So you take that on a stride to know, hey, this is what makes me stronger. However, you also command respect as well. So you never let anyone disrespect you for the color of your skin or what have you, and you stand up for people. If you see that happening with friends or even if it's not a friend, I've done that as well, where I had to stand up for someone and tell them, no, you don't treat them that way. And they, as the same, they said the same thing. Well, you know, I can say what I want to say. I don't associate with those kinds of people. You don't talk to me or whoever. I didn't know who I was talking about. I didn't know the girl's name. But you don't treat her that way. You don't treat me that way or her that way. So you continue to stay strong and resilient, and you stand up for what you believe in. Okay. You have another question?
Yes, let's go and move right along. So, switching gears here a little bit, we're going to ask a question that's open for everyone. What are you passionate about? What drives your ambition? And what advice would you give to people your age, Mr. Sanders, younger people, pursuing their dreams and goals in today's climate? Black America specifically. Anyone want to go first?
My passion, of course, is working with youth. I like to work with a lot of youth because, you know, I'm not that old. You know, I'm still younger, 20 years old, but I like to inspire. I like to inspire our young generation. And to me, it's something called lack of knowledge. You know, that's really the main thing. They honestly don't know what they're doing or what they're saying. You know, it's really just lack of knowledge. And that's why I try to come in there and try to implement that knowledge for them. You know, because they can't find it, or and in some cases, you know, they may not have that father figure, that mother figure in their life. You know, they need someone to be there for them. So my passion is really working with a lot of youth to try to inspire them. I've been on so many panels for youth. For the Barbara Jordan Center, I'm the youth representative for San Antonio Fight Back East Point Prevention Coalition. I was with that coalition for I think 2 years. I started that coalition. I was in high school, my junior senior year. I went to a bunch of meetings. I've been, you know, doing a lot because I want our youth to be successful, and I want them to know that they can be successful, you know, throughout it all. I actually I work for the Boys and Girls Club as a YDP, as a youth development trainer. So I work with all age groups. You know, that's been my passion for a long time, especially growing up as a kid myself. And just let them know that life, you know, life does get hard at times, but you have to just keep on going and keep pushing, you know, to be successful.
Amen.
A little backstory. When I was a kid, I was diagnosed with, you know, I was 10, 11 years old. I was diagnosed with the meningitis and cerebritis when I was a kid. And it was a disease that had pus pockets on my brain cells. I had a scar behind my head,
Yeah.
but I'm ashamed to have that scar
Yeah.
behind my head because that's the point of life. And, you know, I'm currently here. Um, Yeah, I lost all my abilities to walk, to talk. I just lost everything at that age. And it was very hard for
Yeah.
me. It started over for me. And then, of course, come 2019, the year I lost my grandmother, you know, that was hard for me. She couldn't see me walk the stage. Um, it was very, very hard and hard to process. But I tell people that life does get hard, but you have to find a way to get through it. You have to find a way to push through it and make a person proud. Because when mother passed away and get out the hospital, you know, I want to give up on everything. Just stop doing what I was doing. Just stop doing my normal. But you know, something came to my senses like, man, you know, if my grandma was here, would she be satisfied with the actions that I'm doing? Or, you know, just doing the normal things that I was doing. You know, it was hard. Because when I was in the hospital, I was skinny. That's how I got into fitness also too. When I got out the hospital, I gained bad weight, like bad weight. And so my grandma was also diabetic. So when I went to, so I used to always go for normal checkups at the doctor's office, or just checkups every day, you know, due to my condition. So I went to a doctor's checkup, and I had eavesdropped a little bit. You know, as a kid, you eavesdropping with your mom and staying at the doctor. I eavesdropped and heard what they were saying, and the doctors had said that, ma'am, your son's at risk for diabetes. And when I heard that, you know, I said, oh, you know, that's what my grandma had. You know what I'm saying? And that's something I didn't want. And so when I heard that, I got myself into the gym. That's how I became into fitness. I have my own clothing brand also too, Me's Fitness. That's how I got into the fitness industry as far as working out. You know, that one doctor's visit changed my life. forever. And I'm currently here still, blessed to be here still. And I always tell people I'm blessed to be here because a lot of people don't see my age, or don't
Amen.
see certain ages, 15, 14, 10, 5. It's just so many ages that people don't see. And that's what's always a blessing to still be here.
Amen.
Talking a little too much.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
no. Amen.
Right.
Amen.
but
Amen.
but yeah, it really means a lot. And as I was saying, as far as my passion is working with youth, is just to get them involved in certain things. Um, I plan on creating a youth center for our urban communities and our inner city youth. Just to, I think a community center is just giving youth something positive to do instead of being on the streets or doing things negative. I want to create a platform that has something where kids can do things positive. Create that platform, educate them. That's all I'm about is just positive energy and educating. I'm a very positive person. I never think the negative outcomes out of any situation. In some cases, it's reality, and that's true. But I wasn't raised like that. I was a person who was raised with a positive mindset and a positive mentality to keep going and to keep pushing for success. And that's how I got to where I am now, is having a positive mindset. Throughout the whole COVID-19 situation, I just try to ask myself to stay positive throughout the whole situations. Tuesday marks my grandmother's 60th birthday, and that's something that's going to be hard to process too, throughout the whole situation going on. But my passion has been working for youth. I've been to many summits. I've hosted many summits. I've met with the mayor. I've met with mayors. 2 years ago, I met with the mayor of Dallas. It was at a youth summit. We had took a bunch of youth to the CACA meeting. I don't know if you guys know what that is. The CACA meeting. We had took a bunch of youth down there just for the
Mhm. Yeah.
and stuff like that, and just to educate them. And one kid really touched my heart, and he said that you are truly a inspiration and you are a role model to me. And I just want to thank you for what you have done for me. And it really touched my heart, because if I don't touch them all, at least I can touch, some of them or even one or two of them. That's what matters to me, and that's why I took the position I am now for working with youth at the Boys and Girls Club. So that's a lot of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Clarence. We appreciate that. And we're definitely sorry to hear about the passing of your grandmother. But I know she is extremely proud of you and everything that you are doing to keep her legacy and the legacy of your family going. So you keep that head up. I have a question for Cammie and Mahogany, if you guys can unmute. So I think it's important to discuss mentorship within the Black community, and even specifically for you ladies. I know that you're actually involved with a local nonprofit organization called the Lemonade Circle you're members of. And that particular organization, it's a 501c3 that's all about mentoring girls of color. And so I kind of want to hear from you all about, in your own words, what's the difference about being involved in a mentorship program that's got a specific focus on mentoring girls of color versus just girls? Do you think it makes a difference at all or no? And let's do Mahogany. I think you open your mouth first. So go ahead, Mahogany, and then we'll bounce it to you, Kim.
Okay. I think so, because that we can talk about and focus on some of the struggles of being a Black person and being a Black girl, like, so versus just in general. And so if the different things that are going on with BLM protests or just Black problems in general, if we take a meeting to talk about that, because obviously we're all Black girls and we're all experiencing these same things, we can all talk about it and share the same experience, or share similar thoughts, and I can't think of the word, but just we can share and relate to things on a different level.
Yeah, absolutely. Cammie, what about you?
Yeah, I think mentorship is very important, and just being able to come outside of, friends and family, even you can always come to your family, but just having a group of support of girls who are like you and who have gone through some of the same things that you have. And even some of the mentors that we have ourselves who have already gone through, you know, their teen and college lives, who are here to give us advice and how to get to where we want to go as women of color, because it can be harder for us to, you know, be noticed and, you know, just do what we want to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think what's the saying? Representation matters.
Yes.
Right.
That's what we're hitting on. So, you know what's so funny? So I was actually just watching. There's this show called This Is Us that I love very much that I watch on Hulu. And long story short, if there's a black gentleman on there, he was adopted into a white family, so he has white siblings, had a white mom, white dad, and all that. And so the show has kind of showed him going through the changes of the fact that he grew up being the only black kid and not being able to fully express himself in certain ways because he was the black one, and not even knowing how, you know, how do I bring certain things that I'm going through to my white mom and white dad. So anyway, fast forward, he's an adult now in therapy, and he just recently had to call his white therapist and tell him, I'm sorry, I decided that I'm going to have to find a black therapist. And didn't, you know, necessarily tell her why. I just said he came to a conclusion that it obviously makes sense that if I'm going to relate certain problems that I'm going through, I have to find someone that looks like me that can relate to the issues that I'm experiencing, because sometimes there are things that we go through that we kind of don't know how to vocalize. It's kind of a innate thing. You would have to be talking to someone who also is black, who either seen it, experienced it, been a part of it, for them to fully understand and comprehend. So I only say all that to say that, yes, an ode to that cliche statement, representation matters, because it does, because that cultural relevance is what we need in order to move forward sometimes. So awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing.
Do they want to answer the passion question? What their passion? Okay. All right, so we're gonna move into our final segment, which is preparing for the future. So the first question, whoever wants to answer, what changes do you think should be made for the year 2021 in Black America? And how do you think we as a people can make those changes? Who would like to go first?
Okay.
I think from how this year went and everything for any student, I think it's very important that you or the schools have an outlet for mental support or for mental health. And I know that in some schools, it can be hard for students to come to some of the counselors that schools have, because they're not in the position that the student is in. So you can't really make that connection. But I think something that would be really helpful is like youth groups, where people who have already, or not already been, but who are still students, or maybe like seniors who are about to graduate, can kind of mentor pretty much the younger students and give them advice and help on how to cope with all of the changes that have happened or any other changes that could happen, so that they know how to adjust and how to handle it and to keep up grades and get to where they need to be.
And that is an excellent suggestion. That's called peer mentorship, and that is really good.
Is that something you're going to get started at your school?
Right. It looks like you got a new project under your belt. Okay. Anyone else have a suggestion?
Just a lot of resources. Resources are very important. Mentorship is very important. I serve as a mentor for the 100 Black Men of America with Alex Bailey. So I worked with mentors. We had a youth summit. Brotherhood summit where it was a whole different age groups. We had Davis, Sam. We had Davis Middle School, just all different schools coming together as one, and just talking about problems and concerns, you know, being Black in America. And people had a lot of issues and a lot of concern, and, you know, coming together as one, we got out that concern, you know, all the issues that we were going through. So I honestly think that resources are very important, just to have somebody to talk to and to express yourself and truly how you feel. And mentors are very, very important. Like I say, mentors could be that is enforcement, right, that you need, and that they can open up to. So mentors plays a big role in lifestyles. Because I had a mentor myself. Um, he truly. I still talk to him to this day. I still talk to him to this day. But mentors are very, very important. He was a person who just pushed me and kept me on the right track. That's what I think mentors are, as a person who pushes you to keep going. Sometimes when it's a hard road, it's never, to be honest, it's never a straight road. It's always gonna be bumpy roads. It's never a straight road. So it's just a mentor just comes in there and just try to implement um, that mindset, the positive mindset, to keep you going and to keep you pushing to accomplish all your goals and hopes and dreams.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Clarence. Mahogany, did you have anything specific that you wanted to say as far as what changes you feel that should be made in 2021? And how, in Black America specifically though, and how you think we as people can make those changes. So from your perspective.
I personally don't, but I really disagree with the points Tammy and Clarence made about having somebody to talk to and reaching out with everything that was happening with COVID, and a lot of people are at home losing friends, people to talk to. They don't really have anybody to talk to. So just having people to reach out to, like counselors at school, and like Tammy said, when you're at school, you can talk to the counselors, but it's not, you don't really kind of want to, because they are not in your shoes. They don't know what it's like as a student, or they don't know what, like, they can't exactly relate to the issues you're going through, because they're not you or a youth in around your age. So having somebody to talk to and resources would be a really good thing in 2021.
No, I think that's important. I agree. So it sounds like more support in general at the different age groups, even for yourself, Clarence, like you said, be having access to resources. And I think that, to that point, that is why it is so important for us to connect with our elders, like Mr. John Sanders, who we've lost so far, but we're trying to get him back, by the way, on the stream. I mean, connecting with those who came before us, because a lot of times we'll be very ambitious and want to jump head first into things. And there are things that have already been put in place, information, knowledge, as you said, Clarence, that we can gather from our elders, from Papa and Mama, and what did y'all do, and how did y'all do this, and how did you get the funding, and how did you bring people together, and how did you persevere even though our own people were against us, etc. Right? So I agree. I think support, resources, programs that are designed specifically for our community, because as we said earlier, cultural relevance matters and representation matters, period. So those are really great ideas, you all. I agree. Good stuff.
I really think y'all should really like literally take those ideas,
yes,
and go talk to your teachers and whoever else, so y'all can get those.
Don't let them stop here.
Right, like keep it.
This was the seed. If you talked about it before, all this was affirmation that you need to get it done.
Take that initiative.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So moving on. Let's ask this question to all three of you. We'll start with Clarence. You can go first, and then we'll kick it off to Cami, then Mahogany. I want to know, so talking about the future for yourself, where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
I see myself sitting in my office at my youth center.
Yes.
Claim it.
Right.
Okay. I like that.
I see myself sitting in my office, in my own use, in my own building, and just being happy with the accomplishments that I've set for myself. And I've been doing this as far as working with youth for over last 2 weeks ago made 7 years I've actually been doing this. So just all the hard work I put in, is that's how I see myself in the future. I just see myself being proud and thankful for all the things that I've been through, and running my own youth center and working with youth and making them all become successful in life. That's what I see myself in the future as I see myself as a leader as a role model and as an inspiration to our young generation.
Awesome. And so it shall be. Cammie?
I definitely see myself in college, working to get my major in biology. And I also see myself hopefully either in the middle of or already in existence, a nonprofit organization inspired by my sister and I. Well, that doesn't sound bad, but it's basically surrounded by the fact that my sister and I both have sickle cell anemia, and it's had a toll on our lives. And I know that being a kid where the hospital is basically your second home, it can be really hard, especially with coming into your teen life when you're in high school, trying to balance work and life in general. So I just want to basically back to even the nurses and the doctors and everyone who helped my sister and I. And I hope that, that happens. So yeah, it's a work in progress.
So Cammie and I have something in common. We're both signed to
Mashan Models.
Mashan Models. Yes.
Oh, love it.
I just realized that was you. Like when you first came, I was like, I know this girl. So yes, Cammie is a model, very beautiful and talented. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All righty. Last but not least, Mahogany. Talk to us. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
I see myself graduating high school, of course.
Yeah.
Hopefully with good grades and possibly a scholarship. Yeah, I really want to work towards getting a scholarship and going to a good college.
Okay. Do you have any ideas of what college you'd like to go to?
No idea.
No. Do you want to stay in San Antonio?
It just depends on what college has the best, whatever I choose to pursue. I want to go to the college that offers the best training and learning abilities for that specific one.
Absolutely. I think you said you were thinking of a medical field, right?
Either medical field or culinary arts.
Ooh, yes, girl, culinary. No, medical field. Okay. Well, we can say medical field. There'll always be a job there, right? Because healthcare is a business. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, I will say this: if you stay in San Antonio, that St. Mary's University, my alma mater, was a great school and a great university to go to. But if you do decide to do medical field, then probably the UT Health Science Center and stuff like that might be the way to go. Or if you do nursing, UIW, University of Incarnate Ward, has a great nursing program as well. So that's awesome. Well, we can't wait to see where you guys are 5 years from now and reconnect and be like, y'all remember that Blackness panel discussion we did and what you said?
Those two crazy ladies. That was random. Yes, I meant to tell you, we go to the same school. So yeah.
Oh, thank the Lord.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think that we lost John. He's not going to be able to log back on, and that's perfectly okay. We definitely got a lot of information from him. We'll be sure to share any of his public contact information with you also. If you would like to reach out to him and ask him further questions, you most definitely can do so.
A lot of knowledge, a lot of articles, a lot of history. And it's important to learn from our elders.
Yes. So I do have one final question for you before we close out. And this is actually going to be, give us in one word, I want you to summarize what you want your legacy to be when you leave. One word.
Memorable.
Thank you. Cammie? She's like, I'm thinking.
I think Cammie's frozen.
Oh, she might be frozen.
Yeah, she might be frozen.
Uh-oh. Mahogany? Go ahead.
I'm trying to think.
You need 2 words, girl. Use 2 words.
The first thing that comes to mind, that's usually the right answer.
Positive memory.
What was it again?
You said for my legacy?
Yeah, give me one word for what you want your legacy to be.
Positive.
Positive. Okay, awesome. That's beautiful. I'm going to go, I will say impactful.
I gotta say one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Meaningful.
Meaningful. That's good. We have all these folds.
Inspirational.
Right.
There you go. Inspirational. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Mahogany. Well, it looks like we may have lost Cammie. Hopefully she'll be able to chime back in as we close out. So on behalf of Dream Voice, oh, there she is, Cammie. Hey.
Okay.
Before I move on to my final statements, can you give us one word, summarize, what do you want your legacy to be?
Empowering.
Yes. I love that. Beautiful. Okay, so on behalf of Dream Voice, the curators of the annual San Antonio Dream Week Summit, we send a huge thank you for your participation in the third Blackness panel discussion. Today is the last day of DreamWeekSA 2021, so we hope you were able to make it out to one of the amazing events that took place in San Antonio since January 14th. You can check out dreamweek.org or the DreamWeekSA Facebook page, for a listing of all events, available recordings of virtual events, and more.
Thanks for tuning into our third is that right? Third segment of Blackness. You can find the other two previous Blackness panel discussions on DreamWeekSA YouTube channel and Facebook page. If you want to check out more of B-Raw podcast, you can find our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Google Cast, and all your favorite podcast streaming platforms. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at B-Raw Podcast and stay tuned. Stay updated on all things B-Raw.
Yes, awesome. And again, thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we will catch you soon.
And have a great Black Day.
I'm sorry. Last comments. I'm sorry, but to Mahogany and to Cammie, I wish you guys the best of luck throughout your career of high school, and I wish you guys accomplish all your goals and successful. And always remember to just keep pushing for success. It's gonna get hard, but it's never a straight road. Continue to keep going, and hope you guys are successful in life.
And hopefully we see Clarence in y'all schools doing those mentorship programs that y'all was talking about.
There you go.
Since he loves you, go
Connect.
ahead. Right. Better know what school you go to.
I'll keep you posted.
All right.
Okay. Thank you for that, Clarence. Thank you all so much, and you have a great day.
All right, you too.